even though it is a simple building, we still want to offer solutions and opportunities that not necessarily would be cost them more, but we could look at a better solution.
You're listening to the Architect My Life podcast, a show dedicated to empowering women architects and designers to achieve business growth, financial freedom, and health and wellness. I'm Shlachter, your host and CEO of MGS Global Group. Our company provides Revit, ArchiCAD, and CAD drafting services to busy architects and design firm owners. MGS Global started as a part-time gig when I was a new mom, but it has now grown into a thriving business that provides drafting support to creatives, helping everyone maintain a healthy work-life balance. This podcast is proudly presented by MGS Global Group. Now let's dive into this episode. Hi everyone, our guest this week is Ashley Bell Davis of Davis Design and Consulting. Ashley is a South Louisiana architect and entrepreneur who co-owns Davis Design and Consulting, a multidisciplinary firm specializing in architecture, civil engineering, and project management. With a Master's of Architecture from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, Ashley has extensive experience in the field, including teaching and working at respective architecture firms. In 2017, she co-founded Davis Design and Consulting with her husband, and since then, they have excelled in design-build projects for various industries. Ashley is not only dedicated to her profession, but also prioritizes her family, allowing her to be a full-time parent. She is actively involved in mentoring and volunteering for the future of the profession as an AIA member. Ashley's exceptional contributions have been recognized with the prestigious AIA Louisiana Emerging Professionals Award, highlighting her as a distinguished architect and entrepreneur. I'm so thrilled to talk to her today. Welcome to the show, Ashley.
Glad to be here.
So, Ashley, I've met you like 2 years ago, I think, during one of the LEAP events, correct?
Yes. You came and you talked?
Yes. So it's nice to see you again after 2 years. It's been, that was during COVID times, and I'm so happy that we're all past that and everyone's busy. So I always want to ask my guests, why architecture? Can you tell me about a childhood experience or a person that inspired you to become an architect or a creative?
Yeah, so it's actually my dad has a degree in architecture. So looking at his degree on the wall first inspired me to become an architect. And then also inheriting his talent for drawing and creativity really helped. And then I got encouragement from both my parents and especially my mother, who was also in a male-dominated industry working as a vice president in information systems. So that really helped me. They really encouraged me to go into architecture and supported that career path. So I've always known I've wanted to be an architect, and from a young age, I always said that's what my career would be. And when I finally got into it, I really thrived in it, and I still love it to this day.
That's great. A lot of people ask me, like a lot of friends who have kids entering architecture school, do you encourage architecture? And I'm like, it depends, right? It's very difficult nowadays, Ashley. I mean, especially running your own firm and also all the late nights and the burnout. But I think it's all manageable. And I want to talk a little bit about how you manage to do everything with two young kids, right? You have a toddler and
One.
yeah, one
Yep.
toddler, one for now. Anyway, can you tell us about Davis Design and Consulting? What inspired you and your husband to begin your own design firm and civil engineering, right?
Yes. We're a multidisciplinary civil engineering, architecture, and project management firm. And from the beginning, I always knew I wanted to have my own business. Growing up in a small town, being an entrepreneur was something, I saw around me all the time. And that was always one of my goals. And then my husband and I met freshman year of college, and he was also on a parallel path in engineering. So its own challenges with, exams and testing and a similar path, especially in, construction design. And his experience and led to us be able to open our own firm. So we made that leap during a time where the firm he was working for shut down. He went full time first. I was still working at an architecture firm for about a year and a half while I was still doing my testing. And I had 2 exams left when we got to a point where he needed help doing some of the drafting and for me to handle some of the business side of things. So at the end of 2018, I took the leap to be full time while still studying for my exams and then working on the business. And in 2020, I was able to finish my exams, and then we added architecture as one of the services we provided after I was licensed. And we're currently fully licensed in both Louisiana and Texas. And we focus on industrial storage and business occupancies, and we do entirely commercial projects.
So, how did you envision the company as you were building it? Because architecture and civil engineering is quite different, right?
Well, it's very complementary.
Yeah.
I mean, the way, what we can offer that maybe some standalone just engineering or architecture firms is that we have, services in-house. So we have both engineering and architecture. And so we can take a project from preliminary and do that coordination from the beginning in-house. And that also reduces some of our overhead fees having both services in the same, firm, that we're able to pass that cost savings down to our potential clients. But that being said, an engineer and architect as business partners is a unique situation. We have to have equal partnership of the company because an engineer can't own an architecture firm and vice versa. Architect can't own an engineering firm. So we do have equal partnership in the company, and we took our experiences and we were able to complement each other and to work on projects together from the beginning. So we think that offers a unique experience. But we do work, I do work with other outside engineers. If a client comes to me, they already have an engineer involved. And then also Brendan's hired by other architects to do projects on engineering. So we do like to work with other firms and other engineers, other architects. And then I also sometimes work for other architects as project manager on some larger projects that I personally wouldn't take on myself, but I'm able to be part of that and contribute to the project by managing some of the projects, coordinating the engineers, going on site, doing contract administration. So we do offer that services as well. So we like to think of ourselves as team players and able to complement a variety of other, design professionals.
That's great because a lot of architecture firms just do one thing and residential only. It's good that you already have a diversification strategy in place, right? So you always have work. Congratulations. So let's talk about some of the services that you provide.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, we do focus on mostly commercial projects. But the way we do like to approach it, that we feel like our clients have benefited from, is that we always try to encourage to break up the project and do a feasibility study initially. And so that's a little bit lower cost up front, where we're just providing preliminary site layouts, a building layout, and some elevations, and the initial code review. And during that process, depending on which municipality we're working in, we'll do any pre-development meeting, pre-design meetings. So that gives the client an opportunity to take a look at that project and come away with some basic drawings that they can get financing with. They can determine whether their project's feasible, and they can start to look at their business plan and how that works. So we've had a lot of success with that, breaking that down to do feasibility studies first. And more often than not, we've had the clients move on to do a full package. So we usually like to break that proposal up into a feasibility study initially and then the full design package, because that also gives us the opportunity, once we've worked through some of those preliminary issues, that we're able to provide a full design proposal with the full scope of work in mind. We always know that scope of work changes and there's scope creep and there's adjustments that need to be made, but at least we have the majority of the information that we need to provide that. So I feel like that gives the clients a benefit because they know what they're getting into. They have they have some ballpark numbers. They have an idea of what their goals are. They start thinking about the design. And then it also benefits us because we're able to understand a better idea of a scope of work from the beginning.
So
So
it's
that's
really,
our approach.
it's very holistic approach. And you mentioned that in your business, you believe that everyone should have access to quality architecture, engineering, regardless of project simplicity or a modest budget. So how do you, I mean, this has been a struggle for architects, right? Like people always try to haggle, but how do you manage that process?
Well, especially being in a more rural, we're outside of a city, but we are in more of the rural communities, and our market is from here to the west side of the state in Louisiana. So those are a lot more of rural communities. The project types we do, like I said, are more industrial or uh, storage in nature. So typically with that, there's not a lot of design or thought that's put into it. Sometimes those project types, are just basic drawings, but we like to take the approach that those clients do deserve good design, even though it is a simple building, uh, and mostly follows function. We still want to offer solutions and opportunities that not necessarily would be cost them more, but we could look at a better solution. So that's what we like to approach. So with engineering in house, we've been able to introduce architecture service when some of those projects might necessarily have hired an architect. So I think that might be an opportunity. And like I said, because we do have a little bit low overhead, we work from home. We don't have any full-time employees. That we are a little bit more flexible to be able to provide that service to those clients who might not necessarily have had that full design service.
That's great. And so you mentioned you work from home and your husband is there and the toddler is there, your son or daughter or your
Yes. Well, our son he's about to turn 4, but he just started pre-K 3 last month. So this is the first time he's been out of the house full time. We've been so lucky to have such a great family and friends that take care of him. So he does have time, time out of the house that we are able to get a little bit work done. But we did set up our business in a way that is flexible and that it makes our family a priority. And that's, by working together. And even now, even though he's in school, we had him home yesterday because he was sick, and it wasn't a whole commotion. We're used to it. We can just juggle. We had a job site meeting. I went to it. Brendan brought him to the doctor. So to be able to navigate that and have a lot more flexibility than a typical firm setting. And that's really what drove us to set up our business in that way, that we do make some sacrifices. Sometimes we do work some nights, sometimes we do work on weekends, but we do that in order to be able to structure our life in a way that we are able to work full time and parent full time. So, I feel like we're very blessed to be able to do that. And it's not easy. We come across, we have to reestablish, what the boundaries are. We have to figure out what the best solution is, especially as our son gets older, and what works best for our family. So we always are trying to look back and figure out what the best strategy is with our business and our family. It's all combined into one. So we do have, we have to work a little bit on the work-life balance, but we feel like it's a positive thing for us.
I mean, a lot of people just wish to have, start their own business and dream about it. And it's really hard, especially because both of you, husband and wife, are working together in the business. When my business was down, my husband was able to, help me because he had health insurance. So it's quite a leap. You need to be really confident as a business person and not even look backwards, just move forward, right?
Yes, exactly. I really like that point. And, it wasn't just an overnight thing. We had talked about it uh, for years before it actually happened. We had established our LLC a year or two before Brendan even went full time. And then once he was full time, like I said, we did have some overlap so that I had a regular income and insurance while he, was started the business. So we did have some overlap, and it really wasn't overnight. It took a lot of planning. And I really think if that's your goal, you need to start making those baby steps. You can always make a business plan. You can always think about the steps you need to make. You can always be doing the marketing or branding or building your website before you go live, So there are, there's a gradual steps. And, even now there's so many things I want to do with marketing or business that we're just trying to get over the hump and trying to get in the groove of finding our clients and establishing a better balance. Because, as much as we all do, it's ups and downs a lot. You're having a lot of work, you have a little bit of a lull, or, you're trying to catch up. So there's a lot of things. We're always growing and looking to the future. But going back to what you were saying earlier, also by doing that, we were also able to make it because of that diversity. We do offer engineering services as well. So sometimes we're heavier in engineering, sometimes heavier in architecture. We always like projects that we work together too. So there's a combination of that going on at all times. So we do have that extra diversification. We also do some drafting. We have a client that we do shop drawings for. So even though that takes a little bit more of my time, that I could, make a more return on hours doing something else, I always keep consistent that client, because it's gotten us through some of the times where it was a little slower, or that, we were working on drawings and we were waiting for the invoicing. So, we have those gaps to fill. So I really stress on the diversification of what other services you can provide to infill those main services.
You're a true entrepreneur, because I'm an entrepreneur too. I'll do anything to keep my business afloat, right? Like
Right.
my company, we do drafting services, but when my business was down, I was like going to take a retail job to pay for my staff. Even, like I will do anything to keep my company afloat. So what are the challenges of working with your husband? Because not just your husband, but a lot of, husband and wife firms. I've worked with too. And there is like, it is kind of challenging sometimes. So how do are there any challenges, and how do you deal with all of the challenges as, working with your spouse 24/7?
Yeah, a lot of people are very surprised, and in my head, I couldn't imagine it any other way. And I think it has a lot to do with our personalities and the way we operate and our relationship, and that the fact that we are able to, I always tease, and I think I always tease my husband, I think we're both very overly professional. So and we take that to our business. So, we could be talking about something in our personal life and having a disagreement, but then it's time to go to a meeting and we're going to be 100% on it for the business. And we're not going to take that negative feelings into something else. And I think that's just how our relationship works, is that we can, like you said earlier, continue to move forward. We try to resolve the issues we have, but we always make that conscious decision to choose to, move forward and to make that commitment. And it's a commitment, like I said, it's our relationship, our marriage, but then it's also a commitment as a business partner. That's two different things. And I think that's how we view it and how we've been able to operate. So I think it is a personality thing of how we're able to communicate with each other, and really finding the best ways to do that, because working together for the last, 5 or 6 years. And at one point we were facing each other at our dining room table. Is that, really knowing when to interrupt each other, and, how to approach the other one with a problem or a solution. We've been able to navigate that over the years and work out how that works. So, and we're trying to figure out how to bring that into our personal relationships to those pros and cons and the things we've learned through those two different relationships. But I think it's definitely a struggle, and it's things to navigate. But I think it's a benefit, and I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else. I'm surprised by people who are in a business relationship with people who aren't their significant others. That's strange to me, because I couldn't imagine that, because it is so I think because we have similar values and goals, and we're aligned very, strongly with that. I always tease and I say, when we agree, it's 100%. We agree completely with each other. So, but when we disagree, we have little argument. But, I think overall our goals are very aligned, and when we both have a very strong sense of direction of where we want our business to go, and our personal goals, and where we're going. And, we always try to reassess and look at that and figure out where we're going next.
That's great. So, I talk to a lot of firm owners and I always ask them, like, what are your business development strategies? How do a lot of people ask, how do you I meet your clients? Where do you find your clients? Do you have like a pipeline, or what is your marketing strategy around architecture?
Well, really in this area, it's really word of mouth is very driven because we live in the deep South and your name is a lot. So that's why we did choose our name for our firm, and that we really feel strongly that the services and the level of detail that we provide and we try to go above and beyond, and we treat every project like if it was our own. So I think that speaks in itself. So at the beginning, we were lucky enough to be able to have some other, we had another engineer that my husband worked with in the past, and he was able to get some work from that. And like I said, that slowly grew into our, word of mouth and sharing other people. But I really find that the referrals that we get a lot of times are from the, like our metal building manufacturer. We do mostly pre-engineered metal buildings. So that relationship, other contractors, that's where we're getting a lot of the work from. We do have work referrals from our clients, but it's a lot of those industry professionals that will refer us. And then, like I said, other engineers will hire Brendan, and other architects will hire Brendan, and sometimes, we coordinate with other engineers. So it's really working with those other design professionals and then the construction industry professionals. I feel like that is the route we've taken. There are some real estate agents that, we've kind of come into contact with, but commercial real estate is completely different ball game. But that's where potentially if you do tenant improvement projects, that's a good contact to have. But really, I think what speaks for itself is the work that we deliver and, to make our clients happy and to have successful projects. That's what speaks for itself in order to move on and continue gaining that. And then, really putting effort into going to local chamber of commerce, those business like-minded people, because you need to go in when you're trying to find clients and figure out where your clients are at. So doing all those things over the years has slowly built our portfolio, and we've been really lucky to end up with clients who have aligned with what our goals are. And we really haven't had too many bad experiences or negative experiences versus working in the firms when you don't get to choose those clients. It's a lot different story. I feel sometimes I answer phone calls from clients and I have PTSD from my old job, and they call me and it's like, nothing, no big deal. It's totally fine. But I'm like, okay, are they gonna
I think
be
everyone,
upset?
I was also, working in a firm. I also had PTSD with some of the clients. So I understand where you're coming from. So is there are you an introvert or an extrovert? It's hard to be both, right? Business development, especially for architects who like to do the work, is really difficult. Do you go out and do the networking part, or does your husband do that, or both of
And
you?
so I am more of the extroverted introvert and he's the more introverted extrovert. So I'm the one, I love to go do social things, and I am very involved in our local AIA. We have a local group called Designing Women of Acadiana that I'm on the board for, that promotes women in, the design, architecture, trades, interior design, industries, anything to do with the built environment. And then also the Chamber of Commerce's, if there's some kind of event, I want to be there. So I'm that person. But that being said, Brendan's asset and his benefit is he's very much a people person. So once he knows you, he will keep that relationship and foster it over time. He's the one that, still keeps in touch with all the contractors and the other engineers. So I think it's really that dynamic that we're able to have these long-term relationships that, I'm able to be the one that connects everyone, and he's able to keep that relationship going, because it's not just those surface levels. you need to really provide a benefit on both sides. And that is why we like to do a lot of design build projects and work with the same contractors that we are familiar with their work, we know how they deliver, and we have a good relationship with. So having the contractor involved from the beginning stages.
Yeah. So you really build really good, deep relationships with your clients and, colleagues. That's really important because, you plant the seeds of greatness in your daily grind, right? Right now, maybe your contractor is a small time contractor, but later on in 10 years, they might be designing like the mall or whatever, like a huge development in your town. So let's go back a little bit I want to hear more about what you do in Designing Women of Acadiana. So what is
Mm-hmm.
that? Because I do a lot of women events as well to help
Yeah.
women entrepreneurs mostly. But yeah, can you talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. So Acadiana is the region we live in. It compromises of a few of the cities within the Lafayette Parish, essentially. It was started by one of the women who was in the architecture industry, and she kind of bounced around, and she wanted to establish a social and also nonprofit organization that really supported women in these industries. Because, like I said, I am in the South too, where, you know, there's mostly men in all these industries. It's not as diverse as some of the, other places in the U.S. And to really have that support system. So she originally established it. We started just meeting once a month and just to, talk. And through that, we've been able to develop that into an organization that gets together any women in design. So we have welders, we have painters, we have interior designers, architects, obviously, engineers, and even just women who are interested in design. And we do monthly events. Sometimes it's a panel discussion. Sometimes it's a home tour. And sometimes we do trips, like little trips to some of the cities outside of our area, and do a whole day where we have a speaker and lunch, and then we do a tour of the town. So we do a lot of things to benefit the local communities and then also the women in them. And through this organization, we've been able to got nonprofit status, and we're currently developing a scholarship that is able to donate to women who are in the local university and the local community college who are seeking design degrees. So it's been great to be involved. I've been involved from the beginning, but we're very passionate about it and what we bring to the table. And last year, the organization was honored by the AIA state. They have a design award through the Louisiana Architecture Foundation that Designing Women was honored there as a patron of architecture. So the award's given to a non-architect or an organization who supports local architecture.
Congratulations. That sounds amazing. It's good to be involved because sometimes we get sucked into our work. It's nice to see people outside of our family and kids, right? Like I love my kids and all, but it's also good to be involved in
Yeah,
different
and I think that
organizations.
that's the difference from, because I am very involved in the local AIA. I'm currently our local South Louisiana chapter president, and I've always been involved over the last few years, even when I was associate member. But it's very professional, and so this Designing Women organization, it's a little bit more social. We did a mimosa crawl where we went to some different design firms downtown, and we do some of the fun stuff, but it really does help. I have had a lot of contacts with. They have materials reps that are involved, and people who really want to help us and support us. So we're trying to work on expanding and maybe doing some bigger tours of, a lot more residential areas. And so to bring in the money, but then also we always try to give back. For the local governments, we did a study where we did design charrettes for a project. They were working on a bike path. So we were involved in that. We also are involved in Habitat for Humanity. They always have the women build every year. So we do donate to other organizations and are involved in that to support design in the whole community and to spread awareness about it.
So it seems like you have a gift for juggling a lot of things. So
Yes, yes. It's a good thing and a bad thing.
yeah. So let's talk about like how to run a business. I mean, I always say architects were taught how to master our craft but not taught how to run or grow a business. Like, what do you think of that statement, and like where do you get your business sense? Like, do you have a coach? Do you read a lot of books? I mean, I just talk about the business of running a firm.
Yes, it's very true. It was a very steep learning curve, you know. I really think you learn from some mistakes along the way, but I think we did try to always seek advice from people who were, more knowledgeable than us. You know, from the beginning, we have a friend who had a successful um, uh, business, subscription box business that they ran locally. So they gave us a lot of advice about, forming the LLC and some basic business and about our website. And then also hiring a CPA and a construction lawyer from the beginning to give us advice on how to structure, the finances. And that has always evolved over the years of how we, what accounts we have and, credit and things like that. So we always try to reassess that, but we always try to seek the advice of other people who knew, who could give us some real advice, and also make sure our construction attorney went over, our proposals and any, legal questions that we had to make sure that we were setting everything up in the right way so we wouldn't have any issues later on. So that's what we do. We continuously reassess um, our business structure and, how the finances are working. And we always try to make those adjustments. So
Yeah, it's really
I don't know.
important to really have a set of professionals and people you can consult with, especially now that your company is getting more visible in your community. As a matter of fact, you mentioned that you just got a 50,000 square foot project. I mean, that's a huge project. So, can you talk about how
Yes.
you got that project and the experience of working with this
Yes. So
client?
yeah, the client actually approached us in 2020. And we got that client through our metal bending manufacturer contact. So they always, they would recommend Brendan for the engineering portion to do the foundation. And so then they met with Brendan and they realized he's always like, well, my wife's an architect and we can come as a package deal. So we did secure that. We did the design for about a year or a year and a half. And so that's currently under construction. We're about 75% complete on that project, but it's a pretty big local project. It actually was part of a USDA grant that the client got for their processing, for food processing. So that's been a great project that we've been working on. It's a fantastic client that we have a great relationship with. They've referred us to a couple other potential clients in the food distribution and processing world, which I guess we're experts at now. So that's been a great project to do a learning curve. We've both worked in oil field projects, so we're both very familiar with industrial projects, and so this is an exciting way to get some experience in food processing. And we've actually currently doing another project that's going to be a honeybee processing little facility locally, and then our other potential food distribution processing. So it's been great to learn that and to be in that niche that needs more architects in it, because, a lot of architects design for the form and, the huge projects and the, huge budgets. But I really think there's a lot of beauty in taking something that's a little simpler and looking at it and how you can make that a little bit better. It can be just a simple metal building, but you can do some different elements to make that really make the form shine through.
Isn't it empowering that you started your business and now you're getting all these huge clients, right? Like,
Yes.
are your parents just so proud of you?
Yes, yes.
I bet they can't stop bragging, right? Like, my daughter is this. And do you get that a lot?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk about Ashley outside of work. You mentioned that you like to craft. You like beer and wine tastings and crafting. What kind of
Yes.
sort of crafts do you do?
I do like to do, I have a vinyl cutter. So I do like to do like little signs and iron on, when my friends have kids, little onesies and things like that. So small little craft projects. I've always been crafty and done things, which I think is why I really loved architecture school to make all the models. So I always like to do something with my hands. And even just, I like to make things personalized. Like any gift I give, I like to do a little personalization. So that's the extent of it. But I do have a nice little craft closet that I've been able to take some stuff out to do some little projects with my son as well. And then we do like my husband's hobby is cooking. And,
You're a lucky girl.
yes, he's Irish, Irish and Italian. So he loves to cook and we love to go eat out and enjoy a meal together. So that's what we like to do usually for a gift for our anniversary or our birthdays. We like to go eat and enjoy. We'd rather spend money on that, on the experience
Then
than a
things.
gift.
So
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 that's
you
what we
also
like to do.
mentioned swim training.
Yeah. So, I need to get back into it.
Were you a
That was my
professional
hobby.
or like did you do it for
I wasn't a
college?
professional. Yeah. Well, I didn't do it for college. I wasn't a professional. I did some swim training when I was in middle school. And then I got back into it. My family is really big into Ironman and triathlon. So they do their training and swim is the sport that I like. So usually I'll try to convince somebody to do a relay.
Yes.
But in 2016, I was training like 4 or 5 days a week. And, I did a 1 mile swim. So I was pretty good at swimming at that point in time. But I feel like it's a great sport because it's very low impact and it gives you endorphins and I love it.
I
So
actually was
it's
I don't know
really,
if you know that, Ashley. I've done half Ironmans and triathlons. Like
yes, I did know that. I did know
it's
that.
a
Yeah.
lot of work.
It
I
is.
mean,
Yeah.
weekends were like 90-mile bike rides. It's ridiculous.
Hmm,
I
hmm.
can't imagine doing it now, but I think you just inspired me to swim more because now that I'm older, like my knees hurt because from all my running in the past. And, it's not easy when you're middle aged.
And I think I like it because it's the meditation. You're
Yeah.
doing a repetitive motion, especially when you're doing laps. And I just always felt calmer after because like I was saying back in 2016, that was the height of the stress when I was working at a firm. I was studying for all my exams and then I still made sure I did 4 hours a week in the pool. And that was like, I just had so much energy and I don't know. I think it was the swimming.
Because
It
you're
was
an
the
architect. That's
meditation.
what
It
we do,
reset me. Yep, yep,
right?
yep. And that's what I do like yoga too for the same reason. It's the
Yeah.
meditation and the movements and it just, makes you feel a little bit more alive.
So my I always ask this question, as we towards the end of the podcast. Where do you see yourself in 3 years? You personally and the company in 3 years.
So in 3 years, I'm hoping that we start looking into more opportunities to do development. Because like I said, we are involved in project management. We do sometimes do project management with contractors and other architects. And so we do see those side of things. And I think that's an opportunity where the design professionals are missing to get more involved in the development side because we have the opportunity and the unique skills that we understand, the markets and the trends and we can help push, that development and to benefit from it because right now when we finalize our fee is based off of the percentage of construction costs but the second that that building is occupied and open it's exponentially an investment so to take a look at that and see what benefits that we can bring and how we can bridge that gap to be more involved in the development side of things so hopefully working on some projects or even, starting that side of the business because that's completely separate, would be a separate business and to see completely different ball game of how, you need investment and you need different things to start that. But I think that's an opportunity that we can bring that I would be excited to do that we could get more involved into development, business side of things.
That's great. I love that you always push yourself, to do the next big thing. Always try to improve. That's really impressive. And what about you personally in 3 years?
Well, I really hope to we moved a couple years ago, and so it's been on the back burner, some of our personal projects. Hopefully in 3 years we'll have our backyard developed, because at our old house, our pandemic project, we fully developed the backyard. We had such a nice back patio and outdoor kitchen. And so when we really needed some more room, we luckily found a great place to move to, but the backyard is a blank slate. So that's hopefully our personal project we want to work on, so that we're able to spend a little bit more time together as a family outdoors and get some air. And so that's my personal goal, is to work on some of those home projects that I've been putting off
That's great.
since we moved.
Ashley, I really enjoyed our conversation and I wish you all the best, especially in the next 3 years. A lot of exciting things going on in the work and personal life. So, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Ashley Bell Davis of Davis Design and Consulting. Thanks for listening to this episode of Architect My Life, a podcast brought to you by MGS Global Group. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to add to the conversation through your own experiences, I encourage you to be a guest in one of our upcoming episodes. Visit architectmylife.com to apply and learn how. I firmly believe that a strong community drives change and fosters success. If you'd like to be part of this community, join the All Women Architect My Life Facebook group. Please take a moment to review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again for listening. I'm Aya Shlachter. Until next time.